Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by, and Mr. Walker's not here, so we're going to go to Mr. Duray.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please remain standing for a moment of meditation. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Mr. Duray? Ms. Green?
Here.
Mr. Howard?
Here.
Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levinstein?
Here.
Ms. McNeil?
Here.
Mr. Straight Iron?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Here.
Mr. Lamar just entered. I'm going to turn this over to our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Manning Campbell.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam President. Tonight we will have presentations from Newburgh Free Academy Main Campus and Newburgh Free Academy West Campus. First, I would like to introduce Ms. Susan Valentino, co-principal of Newburgh Free Academy.
Good evening. I was the vice principal and part of the first all-female sophomore class at Newburgh Free Academy. We even made the front page of the school newspaper, The Graduate. If you look closely at the screen, you can also see Miss Chesser. I was a member of the ski club and the Lassies. Although I love my classes, my favorite part of school was meeting new friends and attending all school functions. Years and years later, I came back to Newburgh Main Campus as an assistant principal, a vice principal, and now the co-principal. Every day I have the honor of working with an amazing team, faculty, staff, and students. Times have changed, but one thing remains consistent, is my love for this school. My name is Susan Valentino, and I am a Goldback.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm a very respectful, outgoing, ambitious, and multi-talented young man who loves participating in school and extracurricular activities. In elementary school, I always volunteered to try new things, whether it be leading leadership assemblies with my peers, being a part of all district and all county bands and choruses, and participating in the performing arts, etc. Opportunities like those have laid a foundation for me to build upon and continue on to become successful. Now in my sophomore year of high school at NFA Maine, the skills I've learned in elementary school to be open to trying new things has given me the privilege to be the only male dancer with the NFA's advanced dance team, the captain of NFA's crew team, a diver and swimmer on NFA's swimmer and diving team, a runner on NFA's cross-country team, and now a member of the There's More to Newburgh video series, which showcases Newburgh's true beauty. I've also recently landed a lead role in NFA's spring musical, Bring It On. Not only did those skills teach me to try new things, but they also taught me how to be a leader, how to be a dedicated, honor roll, high-achieving student, and a student that's well involved in their school environment. It's these same skills that take us beyond our high school years and prepares us to face the world we live in. NFA Maine gives students opportunities to explore their talents and/or passions through the various programs they offer. Most importantly, NFA Maine teaches students the skills it takes to be a true go-back. My name is Akira McNeil, and I'm a proud go-back.
Good evening, everyone. The topic for today's discussion is, what does it really mean to be a Goldback? For the past 12 years of my academic career, more so me being a Goldback, I've come to the realization of something. Our community is like no other. I'm currently my class vice president, contending on running for the executive president position for my senior year. I'm the president of my orchestra. I'm on the NFA girls golf team, bowling team, and tennis team. I'm also an avid member of the NFA Robotics Club and the Asian Pacific Islander Club, all while maintaining the high honor roll and being in quite a few honor societies. Though throughout the entirety of my high school career, I've noticed one continuity, that of which being our community. With every extracurricular I've ever done, there has always been such a strong and supportive community behind it. Stereotypically, Newburgh has been perceived as an unsafe city that continues to have negative outlooks. However, my experience at NFA Maine has been the complete opposite. When something tragic does unfortunately occur, it's amazing to see how our entire school community comes together to pull us up and lift us all together. You really can't find that anywhere. Numerous teachers who are so dedicated to their students. It's a Newburgh thing. My name is Maimuna Islam, and I am a Goldback.
Good afternoon, everyone. Being a senior at NFA Maine, I have learned and accomplished many things. I'm the former group commander for the JROTC unit at NFA Maine and now serves as an advisor to the current group commander. I have a total of 110 kids spread across all 3 campuses under my command. Within those 110, I am in charge of making sure the 50-plus positions we have are running smoothly, along with planning numerous fundraisers and events throughout the year. I have done volleyball, basketball, soccer, and lacrosse. Currently, I am part of the drill team within our unit and am on the varsity crew team. To top it all off, I have over 100 hours of community service. No matter what team I've been on, sporting event I attended, or competition I went to, there was one thing that never changed: Newburgh's spirit. We will always be the loudest and proudest no matter where we are. People might complain within the school about things they dislike, but those same students would never stand by and let someone talk down on Newburgh. We have defied odds and stereotypes throughout the years, and I personally believe we are the best school this area has to offer. Having these experiences within the last 4 years has thoroughly prepared me for the next chapter of my life. I would not have achieved what I have to this date without Newburgh schools. I would not be who I am today without Newburgh schools. So I will say this for me and all my peers. I am Catherine Garcia, and I am a Goldback.
Tonight, we're here to showcase NFA Main Campus. What better way to accomplish this than through the eyes of our students, both past and present? We are more than percentages and numbers. We are more than negative press we often receive. Our goal is for all students to feel a sense of belonging, self-worth, and self-respect. These are crucial skills in order to fulfill our vision of becoming tomorrow's leaders beyond Academy Field. We strongly encourage students to take pride in their school, embrace the vast amount of opportunities we provide, and of course, be forever a Goldback. Here's a glimpse into our world.
Every day, 2,500 Goldbacks walk the halls of NFA Main Campus. We go to our math, English, science, and social studies classes. We take advanced placement courses, giving us a head start in our college career.
I am a Goldback.
I'm a Goldback.
I'm a Goldback.
We are Goldback Nation.
We have a robust selection of career and technical education courses to choose from, where we are learning from and partnering with industry professionals. Some of us are considering a career in the military. If so, then the AFJ ROTC program is where you will find us.
I am a Goldback.
I am a Goldback.
I am a born and bred Goldback.
Interested in the performing arts? We have those covered too. We have classes in acting, band, dance, and chorus. We work cooperatively to put on performances in our Black Box Theater, during our sporting events, and our annual spring musical.
Am I Goldback?
I'm Goldback.
I am a Goldback.
We are student athletes, earning scholarship money for our excellence in our sport, as well as the classroom.
I'm a Goldback.
I am a Goldback.
We are Goldback Nation.
We participate in a variety of other clubs and after-school activities, and the possibilities to find our passion are endless. No matter what path we choose, we will get there because we have the support from our administrators, teachers, and staff. At NFA Main Campus, we are our community.
I am a Goldback.
I'm a Goldback. And a Goldback.
We are not only learning from our teachers, but we learn from our classmates. Our classrooms are filled with such diversity, where everyone brings in their own culture and traditions, leading to rich and vibrant discussions shaping how we view the world. We come from the city of Newburgh, its surrounding towns, and even other countries. We have different interests, we like different things, we are each unique. But the one thing we all have in common is that we are Goldbacks. And no matter what courses and activities we choose, they all lead us here. We are Goldback Nation.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Marley, and I graduated NFA in 2014.
Hello, my name is Amanda McNeil, graduating class of 2013.
Hey, it's Jaquan Jones, Slinky from class of 2014.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Kendra Gaynor, and I'm a 2015 graduate of NFA Main Campus.
Hi, my name is Teresa Esmeralda, and I graduated from the NFA Main Campus in 2014.
My 4 years at NFA Main played a huge role into bringing me where I am today.
While there, I developed skills in visual arts such as acting, graphic design, filmmaking, broadcasting, drawing, and more. These skills helped me become an award-winning independent visual artist and filmmaker.
NFA was a big help to me because of what they had to offer. Things like GBTV, which I have a bachelor's degree in multimedia journalism. GBTV is the foundation of that degree.
I would not be where I am today in my career without the communications department.
I was able to take a ton of AP classes, which allowed me to get into a great college and get into a great career field. A career field that I would not be in if it weren't for the teachers that I had at NFA and then helping me find that path.
The discipline I gained from ROTC also contributed to my success in film and television, and the science program sparked my curiosity about the world, leading me to pursue nonfiction storytelling and launching my career in anthropology.
I knew I would be good at special education. I knew that I would thrive, but this is just different. I was meant to do this, and I would have never known that if it wasn't for the communications department.
During my 4 years there, I was given various opportunities to become a better version of myself and to pave a path for my future. For example, I ran track, and during that time frame, I also became a captain. This gave me the knowledge and the leadership values to be a leader amongst my peers.
Mr. Dukine was my teacher, and I thank people like him for giving me that foundation to go out and have the knowledge that I had to continue my education.
I took extra classes such as GBTV, and I participated in multiple varsity sports, which allowed me to become a well-rounded individual who now has incredible time management skills. And I was also able to participate in various clubs that got me exposed to a bunch of different activities.
I would say the biggest thing that I took away from my time in NFA was time management. I was able to manage my extracurricular activities, including orchestra, GBTV, student government, and sports, and it has carried over into my college and adult life tremendously, managing now my adult social life and my adult extracurricular activities and work.
I feel incredibly proud to have been part of the Arts Academy and science programs here at NFA.
I do have to say the most valuable thing while I was at NFA Main was just the exposure to people of all different cultures and backgrounds, to see that everybody has a different perspective and they bring something great to this world.
It's been really great, and I really would not be here today if it weren't for NFA. I really owe you everything.
So that is just a glimpse into a day or a week or a year into NFA Main Campus. And I do want to thank Mr. Ducanay and all the students. They created this video. They edited this video. I gave them an idea and they ran with it. So I want to thank them all. Special thanks to our 3 students that came out tonight to present. and to our Go Back alumni who also shared their appreciation for NFA Maine. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I would like to introduce Ms. Stephanie Conti, who will introduce our NFA West Campus scholars. And thank you to our students at Maine.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Manning Campbell, Madam President Carol McNeil, and to the entire NECSD board. My name is Stephanie Conti, and I am a social studies teacher and advisor at Newburgh Free Academy West Campus. Thank you all for giving NFA West an opportunity to share with you our value as a school to both the district and the community of Newburgh. In true NFA West big picture learning fashion, this presentation is student-centered, with the exception of one parent's perspective. 6 members of our student body will now share their presentation, which focuses on the 3 pillars of big picture learning. The students speaking this evening include Senior Jack Millen, Junior Hanif Inman, Senior Michaela Santiago, Sophomore Aiden Cortez, Freshman Cameron Ford, and Sophomore Vincent Shalinsky.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Manning Campbell, Madam President Carol McNeil, members of the board, and my fellow residents of Newburgh. My name is Jack Mellon, and I'm a senior in Miss Noel's advisory. And tonight, I and some of my fellow pupils will provide a better understanding of our unique campus that is NFA West and its success. Our program is intertwined with big picture learning, a comprehensive styling to ready students for the real world and better involve them and their families in the student's education. The success of the program is built upon its foundation of 3 fundamental principles: rigor, relevance, and relationships. Rigor is the preparation to come up with creative solutions to real-world problems versus the standard direct instruction where students are given information only to regurgitate it back on exams. Rigor is the fostering of self-exploration to uncover and develop appropriate public speaking skills and project management skills through our quarterly 30-minute presentations, known as exhibitions, where we are given a far more applicable method to demonstrate our learning. Rigor is the intimate engagement with one's passion and acquisition of job-specific skills through internships. The opportunity to speak in front of you was not made public nor advertised. I sought out this opportunity and requested to lead it. Without West's training to become involved and trailblaze my own future, the others and I would not be here.
Good evening. My name is Hanif Inman, and I'm a junior in Ms. Jo's advisory. I came to NFA West because I felt like I needed a fresh start after my middle school experience. I had great borderline honors grades in middle school, but the social challenges that came with being a part of a large student body were overwhelming. In my 3 years here, I've had a total of 4 internships in culinary, health, and in the fine arts. Through all of these internships, I've gotten jobs and other opportunities, such as the chance to work with Food Network chef Chuck Pavona, as well as the opportunity to work with Chef James Wenzel. Through NFA West, students can not only gain useful real-world experience, but they can also gain networking opportunities, career opportunities, and even certifications. At my first internship, I was a social media manager for Health Education Associates. There, I was on track to becoming a certified mental health first aider. I had completed my 3-hour course, but I was too young to qualify. Instead, I got certified in child CPR and in adult CPR, which is normally a $200 course offered by the organization. I got my certifications for free. My second internship was at Lodger. It's a small private event space right around the corner from the Board of Education. There, I learned all about food service and the flavor profiles of Africa, Brazil, and France. Through Lodger, I was able to network and get another internship at a printing factory called Thornwillow Press. Through my internship at Thornwillow Press, I now have a well-paying entry-level career as soon as I graduate high school. At my fourth and current internship, I work with Chef James Wenzel. He's a Michelin star chef with experience under international chef Gordon Ramsay. My internship is at Meadow Hill. Despite interning in a middle school, I have learned and continue to learn culinary skills that would normally be learned after years of professional kitchen experience, such as making pillowy gnocchi or perfectly rolling sushi. Internships are so important in the process of developing students' drive to have successful careers, as well as preparing them with skills they'll need personally, such as professional email writing, resume writing, and how to carry yourself professionally in the workplace.
Good evening. My name is Michaela Santiago, and I am a senior in Miss Noel's advisory. The relationships I have built with teachers and staff at NFA West have been the best in all of my school experiences. Coming from middle school, the teachers weren't nearly as caring, compassionate, and dedicated as the staff here at NFA West. Not only were they there during my toughest times, for example, when the loss of my father occurred, but they made sure that I received whatever emotional and academic support I needed to ensure my continued personal and academic success. Being in an environment where I know that the teachers care about their students is what keeps me motivated and keeps me from slacking. Relationships with teachers are one of the most important elements in being a student. Being at NFA West has taught me that teachers truly care for their students and are a key component in making sure students are successful in their academic workspace.
Good evening. My name is Aiden Cortez. I am a sophomore in Ms. Stephanie's advisory. Our stories are not just rare examples, which is why we drafted a survey of 11 questions in hopes of supporting our claims with statistical data. Of a campus with 133 students, our survey received 91 responses. In the interest of time, we will only share a few questions. However, the entire summary of our results can be shared with whomever desires. These questions were structured so that a student could respond to a statement on a scale of 1 through 5, 5 being strongly agree and 1 being strongly disagree. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cameron Ford, and I'm a freshman in Ms. Serena's advisory. The first statistic reads, since attending West, my grades have increased. A total of 76% of students agreed. This demonstrates that West facilities and environment are effective and idyllic in supporting student growth through specialized rigor. A second stated, I feel that exhibitions have greatly improved my following skills: public speaking, confidence, and professional accountability. This showed that 78% of students agreed. This alternative methodology successfully forces students to develop novel skills that are extremely relevant to today's job care. Our final reads, I feel that the relationship between faculty, staff, and I have assisted in my academic evolution as a student. 77% of students have a positive relationship with the staff. A plethora of studies in the past have found that a positive student-teacher relationship leads to greater academic achievement by the student and have improved methods of educating. Of course, no summary of a school is complete without a parental perspective. So now I will welcome our parent representative, Mrs. Hugley.
I was silly not to bring tissue because I'm going to cry. Good evening. My name is Nicole. I'm a lifelong local and the parent of a graduating senior. Cue tears. At NFA West Campus. I graduated myself from NFA in 1998. Please bear with me. It's been a while since I've spoken in front of an audience, and public speaking wasn't an integral part of my secondary education, like it is at West. Hint, hint. I'm happy to tell you all about our family's experience. I actually tell people all the time. And the hardest part is probably trying to do this in like 90 seconds when I could go on for like 90 minutes. So the Cliff Notes version of our story is that I pulled my son out of the second half of his last year of middle school and homeschooled. It was a desperate effort to provide what I knew he needed. The environment he was in at that time just wasn't conducive enough to learning and safety for me to continue sending him there every day. So I had no idea what I was doing, and we made it through the rest of the year together. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it, and thankfully, it didn't last long because we were told about NFA West and encouraged to apply. The rest is history, because a lot of you are probably familiar with Christian, and that just feels weird. It's just amazing. Ad-libbing. Let me stick with the script. I told 90 minutes, I kid you not. So with the help of our village there, my son transformed into a scholar, a student athlete, honor roll, and he was chosen to represent the district as my Brother Keeper's fellow for his campus. I'll always be grateful and indebted to staff and administration who is truly more like extended family. They love going to work every day, and it makes a difference. From the moment we toured between the student-teacher ratio, oh man, I'm sorry guys, to the beanbag chairs, I knew it was the right place for us. I knew their approach was gonna work. I was hopeful, and I was right. Part of the responsibility of voting is making informed decisions, as you all know. Thank you for what you do. I know it's not easy, and sometimes it's even thankless, I would imagine. I know part of that responsibility is making informed decisions. And I'm not a numbers person, but I'm confident the data available will guide your decision. And sorry for my sniffling. The holistic learning experience these kids are receiving, it's preparing them for skilled work, for college, and most importantly, life. I have no doubt about the return on investment. It would be wise to throw your support behind this as a movement, right? And it would be foolish not to. It's a blessing. I'm probably over my time. I'll just leave you with what I always say about NFA West, which is I would pay tuition to send my children there. Thank you. Thank you. And now, even though now you know I'm not alone, but Jack told me my next job was to point out the fact that I'm not alone and share with you some other parent perspectives. So if you look to the board, there's a few others, and I'll read them for you aloud. I sent my child to West due to the fact that he did not like North Campus and his grades, I'm assuming, were below average and almost failing. Ever since I brought him to West Campus, he has been more interactive, grades are all above 80s, and he made honor roll. West has many programs such as internships. My son goes to intern at Young and Unique every Thursday, which I know is a daycare for those who may not and comes back every day to tell me what he did with the kids. I just love the way this school teaches and how the faculty and teachers encourage my son to go to school. I absolutely love West. Number 2, I sent my child to NFA West because I felt that she feels safer and more comfortable in being in a school that has fewer students to which she is able to communicate. I also heard that this school was able to give you 1 full school day to do hands-on, or in other words, internships, to understand kids' passions and interests. And my daughter loves this idea because she wanted to have more experience with what she wants to become in life and how this specific job career would be like if she grows up into having one. Number 3, I sent him here because I love the way that teachers and staff have time for him, and that school is a smaller school, point blank period. So there you go. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Vincent Shalinsky, and I am a sophomore in Miss Stephanie's advisory. Rigor, relevance, and relationships. These pillars are the key elements of a success. NFA West alone has led an effort to redefine the stigma of Newburgh. Children enter high school at a critical point of development, and the necessity to nurture them is often overlooked. West provides a unique style of learning to ensure a healthy and thriving future for each individual student. With our school's distinct teaching and possibilities, it allows students who may not succeed in the regular classroom the chance to prove themselves capable. This school creates more than a student bond, it creates a family. A safe space for everyone who attends. Passion seeps through every action taken by us, and the teachers only amplify our passions. As a testament to our success as a building, on the board you can see the data researched by our own Hanif Inman illustrating West's graduation rates over the past 3 years compared to the rest of the district, the county, and the state. The school as a whole thanks you once again for the chance to give insight into our unique and imperative program. If for nothing else, we ask you to remember that 96%. Thank you.
So once again, my name's Emily Clark, and I am the proud, I was the proud administrator, I still am. I am the current acting principal at Temple Hill Academy. However, I would be remiss without closing to say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to come here and present to you. Thank you for allowing my students and my parents to speak. But thank you for believing that Newburgh deserved a chance to have 5 unique, beautiful campuses that our kids can go to that are diverse and beautiful in their own right. Thank you so much for your support of our scholars and our athletes. Have a great night. Thank you.
Let me just say, Jack, good job. I know how hard you worked, and the next time you get tissue for your mom. We have people around. Or next time, have it in your pockets. All right, thank you. I have to thank Mr. Dotto for supporting NFA West, as well as Ms. Clark, the heartbeat of West, and Ms. Lakia. Thank you. I would be remiss, you too, Ms. Valentino and Ms. Cheshire, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the students. Avante, Monique, I think I see you. Come on in. I'm so extremely proud of each and every one of you, and I agree as I see the staff in the second row. Thank you so much for your dedication. Yes, Ms. Noel, we see you. Your hard work and your continued commitment to our district, and yes, Thank you for continuing to be a Goldback. We love you. Next, I would like to introduce Ms. Andrea Moriarty, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction for Elementary. She will be introducing the literacy audit presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Manning Campbell. That was a hard act to follow, but I'm going to try. In any work that you do, it's really important to reflect and audit and revise the work that you're doing. And each year we pick different areas to audit and consider the work that's happening. This year we felt it was important to have a literacy audit conducted. And so we contracted with Ulster BOCES, who also collaborated with the Education Department at Marist College. And here tonight to present their audit findings is Ms. Sarah Dudley Limek, and I will let her introduce her team. So if you guys want to come up to the microphone, thank you.
Good evening. Thought I'd wait 1 minute to let the crowd in and out. But we are so fortunate to be here for those presentations. That was fantastic to see the work that your students and your teachers and administrators are doing. Folks are going to filter in as others are filtering out, but I can get started. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Dudley Limek. I am the Assistant Superintendent for Instructional Services at Ulster BOCES. With me, I have two of my colleagues. I have Dr. Maura Albertson, who is our Coordinator of School Library Systems, and I have Victoria Curry, who is our Supervisor of School Development. Unfortunately, Dr. Gathers was not able to be with us tonight. There's a bit of an echo. But she worked with us throughout the process. So we were invited, as Mrs. Moriarty explained, to look at your literacy program across the district. To do that, here we are. The scope of work gave us 4 tasks to do. They asked us to determine whether the written, taught, and assessed curriculum is aligned with the National Reading Panel concepts, along with writing. They asked us to determine whether the resources provided by the district support the needs of students and are aligned with the curriculum expectations. Determine whether the reading program and resources are being implemented with fidelity. And then last, to look at professional development and whether the professional development provided by the district is having an impact on improved teacher practice. So 4 tasks. In order to do this, we went to 4 schools: Baumville Elementary School, which is K through 5, Balesgate STEAM Academy, which is K through 5, Meadow Hill, K through 8, and then Heritage Middle School, which is grades 6 through 8. We were approached in January for that work, and we've wrapped it up here in April. Please keep in mind, being an audit, this is our snapshot of what we saw and what we experienced while we were in Newburgh. It is not holistic of every single thing that's happening in every building at every moment. Of course, when we were in buildings, we were seeing classrooms for very short periods of time. So what we did for this audit is we looked at your literacy curriculum as a whole, thinking about the National Reading Panel concepts, which we're going to talk about in a few moments. We paid special attention to the ARC Core and 100-book challenge, which is part of your Tier 1 program for students. But we looked at the entire literacy program, all the curriculum maps, all of that. We met with central office stakeholders twice, as well as a few phone calls and Zooms to get a feel for how decisions were made, what choices were made, where resources went. And then we spent 4 days in your schools, which of course was the best part of this whole experience, because we got to be with your teachers and with your students for several days. When we were in the building, we conducted classroom walkthroughs during their literacy block. We also met with students. The students' focus groups were usually 2 students per grade level. Those were decided by the building, whether it was the principal, whether it was teachers. We also worked with teacher focus groups, and we put anonymous in there. It doesn't mean that we didn't know who they were. We just assured them that whatever feedback they were giving them would be anonymous so that they could feel comfortable telling us whatever they wanted to and talking to us freely. And then we had administrative conversations at the buildings as well about implementation, professional learning, again, anything that they wanted to tell us about what was happening around literacy in their particular building. So I wanted to start really with the summary of our findings, and then we'll go through exactly what those findings are and in more detail. But first of all, Newburgh it should be commended for implementing a universal Tier 1 reading program. That's super important to the success of your students. It's very important for you as a district to be able to make decisions about where students are, about what direction you might need to go from there. So underneath everything, that was a great decision on your part. We saw, again, great teachers, great administrators, many wonderful students in each of the buildings that we went to. Again, it was a joy to be in your buildings. And then also, you finished now really, I think, the first phase of your literacy core implementation, whether that's Art Core or Heggerty or Sunday. It's been a 5-year process pretty much. So now is the time really to look at how much fidelity do we have, what direction do we go from here, what's working, what needs to be supported more, and keeping committed to the literacy program is probably your biggest charge moving forward. A lot of times in schools, we spend 5 years implementing and then we walk on to something else because there's so much that we need to do. What I would encourage is that you stay focused on literacy because we know that this is fundamental to the success of students moving forward for them. So now we're going to dive into task 1, which was to determine whether the written, taught, and assessed curriculum is aligned with the national reading panel concepts along with the writing concept. I'm going to hand that over to Dr. Albertson, and she's going to tell us a little bit about the national reading panel. You just push this one.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So the National Reading Panel recommendations. In 1997, the federal legislature commissioned the National Reading Panel to conduct an analysis and determine the best approach to reading instruction. The report found that a program that incorporates explicit instruction in phonemic awareness, systematic phonics instruction, methods to improve fluency, and ways to enhance comprehension was the best chance of success. The panel also concluded that a combination of the following techniques is what's most effective for teaching children to read. And I'm just going to spend a minute to go through those with you and explain what they actually look like or mean. So phonetic awareness. It's the ability to hear and manipulate the individual sounds that are within words. Phonics is the instruction teaches students to use the relationships between letters and sounds to translate printed text into pronunciation. Fluency, oral reading fluency, is the ability to read text aloud with accuracy, speed, and proper expression. Oops, sorry, I went too far. They also recommended guided oral reading. That is instruction in which students read portions of text aloud repeatedly and receive feedback from peers, parents, teachers, and that's in order to help the student become a better reader. Teaching vocabulary words. Vocabulary refers to word meanings, and vocabulary instruction is about the teaching of those word meanings. And finally, reading comprehension strategies. Reading comprehension is the act of understanding and interpreting the information within a text. You ready? And Victoria is going to speak to the science of reading.
Good evening. Okay, so all of those terms are couched underneath the idea of science of reading, and that's a term that's been politicized, but it's just meaning that it's a body of research. In our field of education, there are many best-intentioned folks teaching all of those things that you've seen, but perhaps not in the way that research would prescribe as the best method. So the hope with science of reading is to understand all the methods that are recommended, while also understanding that it's not a program and no one program can access everything. There's no silver bullet for this, or we would all be doing the same program. A large piece that is working alongside the science of reading is Dr. Hollis Scarborough's reading rope. So she made this in the 90s, and the idea was to teach reading teachers the best methodology in teaching reading. So she took them, and they were actually pipe cleaners, and she demonstrated that you need to weave all these together in a rope, not a braid, because it takes all of these strands to make literacy happen. So in about 2001, reading teachers were like, oh, this thing is great, and we need all of these things. But there is no one program that addresses this perfectly for every single unique learner and reader. So these are the two big pieces of research that go alongside your NRP recommendations. Oh, and I guess the other thing to point out too is you see there's two main strands here. So one is language comprehension and the other is word recognition. Science of reading gets a lot of attention for word recognition, but that's not to say that there aren't appropriate research-based strategies in the other language comprehension pieces.
So we're going to use a little bit of academic language as we go through this, and we wanted to make sure that everyone understood what we were saying when we do this, right? So very often in education, academically as well as behaviorally, we talk about different tiers. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 rolls off of our educator tongues, right? But sometimes folks don't know exactly what that means. So when we talk about Tier 1, that's the foundational program or learning designed for all students. So when we look at Tier 1 literacy instruction, this is the instruction that we are giving to every student in Newburgh schools. They're all receiving this. That's kind of going to the average student, right? They're going to look at this, and then as we're doing that work, when we start to notice that some students aren't moving forward, aren't growing in the way that we would expect, they may move into a Tier 2 situation where they're going to get a little bit more support than those Tier 1 every student. So we've put some examples up on the board of what's a Tier 1 program or part of the instruction. That's your ARC core, that's the 100-book challenge. New York State Next Generation Learning Standards are part of Tier 1 instruction. Your overall literacy curriculum is Tier 1 instruction. The iReady work that we're going to talk about later is part of Tier 1. Newsela, or Newsela, is a program that can be used as part of Tier 1 instruction. Again, everyone is receiving those services. As you move to Tier 2, very often, and right now, post-pandemic, in Newburgh schools, Tier 2 interventions are happening in the classroom for the most part. So teachers are differentiating. They're changing some of their instruction to offer more support. A lot of times what we saw is that's happening during station work during literacy block. So some students would get different strategies or skills than the whole group. And that would be tailored to where they are as far as their reading level and looking at things like fluency, vocabulary, comprehension, phonetics, all of those. For Tier 2, you have Heggerty phonemic awareness. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. That's really looking at the sounds of words. And then tier 3 is very highly specialized. This is where students are probably taken out of classroom time to work with a reading specialist to very minutely look at the skills they have and give them instruction tailored specifically to the things that they need to learn more of. This is where you bring in the Sonde system, which is an Orton-Gillingham-based program, again, that's scientifically developed to really look at how students start to learn to read. Fontes and Pinnell is another, this level literacy intervention, that's another program that's used in your AIS services. Generally speaking, when we talk about tier 3, we're talking about students who are reading 2 grades below the normal reading level. Of course, in kindergarten, that's not quite the same, right? You're making some decisions there about who would most benefit from these services. But generally speaking, tier 1 is what's there for everyone. Tier 2 is for those students who need a little bit more support to get up to grade level reading, and tier 3 is highly specialized. So as we looked at task 1, that looking at the written curriculum assessment, we looked at your written curriculum. We looked at the curriculum that was supplied by ARC Core and the 100-book challenge. Both of these incorporate all of those National Reading Project recommendations that we mentioned earlier in the presentation. As Victoria said, any reading program is going to address all of these things. But what happens is that some address one part and maybe not the other as much. So as we were doing this evaluation, what we found is that phonemic awareness and phonics instruction is embedded in ARC Core. It is part of your district curriculum maps. It's not explicitly taught in some of the ways that educators and reading specialists think about that now. It's embedded in your maps, it's there, but it doesn't really include the discrete explicit instruction all the time. We're going to talk about what you maybe can do with that. There is recognition that, of course, especially for tier 2 and tier 3 students, they really need that intervention. So the district has adopted the Sonde system, again, which is this Orton-Gillingham-based program. They use that in academic intervention services, as well as special education, special reading, collaborative programs, so inclusion classes, that's used as a system in the classroom, and for those students who have it as part of their individualized education plan or IEP. The district also this year has trained all of their preschool and kindergarten teachers in the Hegarty Phonemic Awareness Curriculum, which is, again, looking at those phonemes, looking at how sounds work for reading. And then they have training planned for grades 1 and 2 for next year, and are looking beyond for training for grades 3 through 5. This is intended as a tier 2 intervention, although it will have benefits for all students, tier 1 as well. And currently, all AIS reading teachers have been fully trained and are using it during AIS services. So these are two ways that Newburgh has addressed the phonics and phonemic awareness. I think I'm going in the wrong direction. Here we go. One of the other parts of task 1 is looking at assessment, and we're going to be able to talk a little bit more about that with Victoria.
Okay, so these are the methods in which your teachers assess children. So the ERLA, or the ENL, comes from the ARC Core program, or reading company, and it is meant to get an independent reading level of students and then match readers to text on their level. School Pace is an online performance management system, and that is where information is put in and then teachers can see in a comprehensive way. It's not just one student, but this is my many students in a class and how they're looking. You also have iReady, which assesses students' performance in ELA, and it goes across all the strands in Scarsborough's rope as well, and that also gives graphs and printouts. Addition to all of those that come from prepackaged way, you actually have common assessments that are homegrown or made by educators in your system. They are a variety of questions that match your homegrown curriculum and units of study, or they support the K-2 earlier learners. They also interweave passages from past New York State assessments 3 through 8, which could give a good look and or serve as a predictor in the future for how students will perform. Okay, so with that being said, there's a couple recommendations to go through so far as the assessment. So if we go back a page, if you think of the top, well, the second one is a warehousing system, but the ERLA, ENL, and iReady are both maybe like a 30,000-foot view of the reader, right? It's not a direct correlation to the curriculum. It's like, how are you doing, how are your skills, right? But it's not going to say how you're accessing the text Esperanza Rising in 5th grade, let's say. So a recommendation to put these all together so that teachers are able to make actionable changes to curriculum or augment for students. The first one is to hold regularly scheduled data analysis meetings with established protocols to look at student work and determine curricular direction and adaptations. When you have a large school system, if you were not to have standardized protocols to look at student work, everyone's going to go in a very well-intentioned different direction. So having those protocols known and named and then sharing the outcomes is extremely important. Secondly, I would recommend, or our team recommends, putting together a digital warehousing system so that all of this can be put together and a teacher can have one view of all the many ways that their students are assessed. Common assessments, they could be edited to probe more skills on the rope and to look a little bit deeper at the homegrown Newberg written units that are being taught. If possible, all standards should be aligned with the assessments and questioned, and if that's done, then you can have a routine gap analysis, which would provide a whole host of knowledge for teachers to be able to make augmentations in their teaching practice, like on the fly, rather than waiting for the New York State assessments, which we all know happen once a year, and then you get the results way too late to change anything with the kids that you have in front of you today. So that's a huge recommendation there. And lastly, more training to gain a comprehensive understanding of why we do ERLA. And there also needs to be a bit of planning around the ERLA is really time heavy for teachers to administer, and then to think about looking at curriculum and augmenting. There could be some perhaps planning around that.
So those recommendations were specific to the assessment part of our audit. We did want to make a few recommendations for this task one, which we mentioned with the common assessments. It is really good to have common assessments that are across the entire district for building common vocabulary to ensure that each building is looking at your program in the same way. And you need to look at making sure that what you have on paper for your curriculum is the same thing that's being taught by your teachers in the buildings. We're going to address that a little bit more when we get to task 3, which is more about fidelity. What you're going to hear over and over again in this presentation is that teachers need time. They need time to really dig into this literacy program, work together, and build what's written out for their students. Very specifically, we recommend that there is time for your K-2 teachers specifically to strengthen and adopt the phonics material that's in your Newberg literacy curriculum. What we heard from teachers is that it's there, but they don't always have time to spend the time on it that they would like with students, or the time to really plan for it. So giving them more time, and this could be in addition to what we recommend, would be to adopt a supplementary Tier 1 phonics program to be integrated into your literacy block. That's something to think about. I would say time is difficult to find in a classroom day. And you do devote quite a lot of your time during your elementary students' day to literacy. So you really need to think carefully, if you adopt another program, how does this overlap with your ARC core? How do you fit that in? Or what are you going to take out if you're adopting that? So we suggest it as one option. I think you would probably get a lot of benefit from having the teachers sit down and talk together about what's already in your curriculum as well. So moving on to task 2, which is about the resources that you have invested into supporting your literacy program. You have put a lot of money into literacy, quite frankly. You're also putting a lot of time. So it's not just about money, it's also about time. And you are doing that. You have the full classroom libraries of leveled books that support ERLA. You have things that are appropriate to the grade level and the interest levels of students. You have given the teachers their units, the mentor text. You have ERLA toolkits, which support in station environments some of that tier 2 instruction, very specialized. And these are areas we see that students are struggling a little bit. This gives them more practice. You also have invested in other supplemental materials like News ELA, which is a program that allows you to choose a topic and you are able to get readings. It's more than this, but readings that are at the reading level of your students in your class. So you might find an article, about, of course, I'm not going to think of something right now, but as simple as the American flag, right? And the original article might be written at a 5th grade reading level. This will give you materials so that a student reading at a 1st grade level will be able to read it and get the same information as that original 5th grade example. The materials that we saw are very learner-friendly. They're stimulating, high interest. It's a very diverse, independent reading catalog. Students can see themselves in the books that are available to them in your classroom. We heard that, we saw that over and over, both from the students as well as from the teachers. We also found that one element of the ARC core program are consumable. And in the ed world, consumable means you buy it for a student at the beginning of the year, they use it all year, you get rid of it, and you have to buy it again the next year for the next set of students. So usually consumable means it's a little bit expensive, right? Or there's cost involved with it. And so the district, trying to be fiscally responsible, decided that they were going to produce those ARC workbooks on their own this year. That didn't end up being as smooth as they thought it was going to be. And so our understanding is that moving forward, they're going to be purchasing those notebooks from ARC. But that was something we heard loud and clear in the buildings. ARC is a great program, but it's dense. There's a lot in this program. There's a lot to unpack. So the grade levels in the buildings we were in that had been working with ARC longer felt better about the program, implemented it with more fidelity. It's definitely something that takes a while to familiarize yourself with as a teacher and to understand the full scope of. We also found that the ARC core does not provide appropriately scaffolded materials for special education classrooms. And this is specific to the program. This isn't anything about Newburgh schools. It's just something that doesn't come. So it's work that Newburgh needs to do to help the special education, especially the self-contained classrooms, create materials that are supportive. And in some cases, one of the big draws of this program was its dual language program, very rich curriculum and materials in the multilingual or dual language environment. Sometimes the way that Newburgh Schools schedules those programs didn't really align, but again, that's something that we were told is being addressed next school year in the schedule. When we went through the walkthroughs in the buildings, again, we're seeing it for 5 to 10 minutes of a piece of their literacy block. So we saw a lot of the important work. We saw students having access to their leveled libraries. We saw the multilingual books. We saw whole group instruction with anchor text, the skills toolkits being used, those reader and writer notebooks, among many other resources that were available to students to support the literacy work. So recommendations as far as materials to support the literacy program. We encourage that the 100-book challenge be visible and celebrated in all classrooms and schools. We saw examples of that, but we definitely feel like that is something that students were excited about, especially when we met with the focus groups of the students. They were excited to talk about the books. Some of them even admitted they weren't big readers, but they enjoyed the books in the classroom. They liked what they had available, although, there's always more they could want, right? So they would like even more books in their classroom, especially continuations of series books. You got the first one, they wanted the next one too. And again, talking about time, provide time for teachers to work with the ARC coaches and colleagues to break down and co-author lessons from the ARC core materials. You're going to see this again in other settings, but that time for teachers, again, to work together to really break down that very dense curriculum. And the self-contained classrooms need more materials and support to adjust to the needs of their students. And like we said before, that some of the ARC materials in Spanish just need to look at how that fits into the daily schedule. So moving on to task 3, which is about fidelity. I want to start by just reminding people of the implementation schedule. This started pre-pandemic. Some of it was being rolled out during the pandemic, which we know was not the easiest time to do something new. And then really this school year is the end of that rollout, but the first year that most grades 3 through 5 teachers are working with ARC core. And like I said, it's big, there's a lot. So when we went into classrooms or spoke with teachers, the K2 teachers often felt a little better because they had been working with it for a couple of years. We're more comfortable with what the scope of the whole program is. We're more comfortable of where we can put in supplemental materials. The 3-5 teachers, understandably, were not quite there yet because they hadn't gone through it an entire year. So we cannot say that the ARC core, the written curriculum, has been implemented with fidelity across the district. But it is not, I don't think that you should take that as an expectation maybe to have at this point. This is a new program. It takes a long time to get all people on board. You have the program across the board. That's really important. Now it's refining that, and it's continuing to build, and it's continuing to support where needed. There is a little bit of confusion between teachers and maybe central administration about the role of ARC core. They definitely believe that ARC core is the primary reading program across the district, that's the thing that they should focus the most on. There seems to be a little bit of confusion about whether that's what it is or whether it's just one of the resources available. And that's just a conversation that needs to happen, I think, across the board. And I went backwards on this one, but I do want to say your teachers are doing good work. They're very focused on students learning to read and write and all the things that you need to, and speak that you need for literacy. So as we were going through, some of the things we found that made it more difficult to have fidelity in the program, like I mentioned, the amount of time that teachers had spent with the program. It's large. There's a lot of work to be done. Some of it needs new training, need to look at classroom schedules in some cases. As we mentioned at the very beginning of this presentation, there are some ideological differences of opinion between the kind of science of reading idea of phonics and phonological awareness and what is usually called balanced literacy. As we mentioned, the rope is all of that. So, going all to phonics, phonological awareness is going to ignore a big part of literacy learning. But there are differences of opinion out in your buildings. And time, again, it definitely needs time to improve. When we were in your classrooms, we saw all elements of ARC core, independent reading, independent writing, whole class instruction. We went into general education classes, special education, self-contained classrooms, bilingual dual language programs, ENL programs. So we did get a good cross-section of students and teachers. So our recommendation for fidelity is really, the prime thing is clarifying the expectations for implementation. What exactly do you want teachers to do with ARC core? How, are there specific parts of it that you want them to be focusing on as they go through this? Do you want them to do it all? They just really need more clarity on that. Again, allow time for teachers to co-author lessons within grade levels across the district. It would be worth your time to try to bring third grade teachers from several of your elementary schools together so that they can understand each other, they can have a common vocabulary around the literacy program. That just builds capacity across the district to share the work that they're doing. And then also, building on what Victoria was saying, build exemplar catalogs of student work. So again, we know that teachers at elementary A are looking at work the same way that teachers at elementary B are looking at it, and they all have a common set of expectations for what a writer in second grade, what that looks like. The last task is professional learning or professional development. Much like the resources, and this is certainly another resource, you've invested a lot of money in this and time in this. You have ARC coaches that are coming from the company at least one time per month in every building to work with teachers. We heard that the quality of the coaches sometimes varies. It sounds like ARC and the district have been responsive to that, but sometimes it takes time to find a match or a fit between those coaches and the teachers. We did see there were some of the buildings we were in who had internal instructional coaches, I think written in from other grants. That definitely benefited the fidelity and the understanding of the program for teachers. It allowed questions sort of in real time to be answered. So we would definitely recommend that you try to do that as often as possible. And then the amount of time that teachers were given devoted specifically to the literacy program was different across buildings. So in places where the building lead really emphasized literacy, you saw more literacy work and you saw more fidelity. In those buildings where it wasn't as much of a priority, you didn't see it as much. That doesn't mean they weren't prioritizing other things, but there was a difference. We believe that it would be very important for you to present a multi-year professional development plan that's known by everyone so that they understand how ARC core, how any of your supplemental, Haggerty, any of that, how it all fits together, and when they're going to be getting the training on that. That way teachers understand that you're committed as a district to that work. You had us come in, an outside entity come in and do an audit and talk to your teachers. We encourage you to be doing that on a regular basis, whether that's sitting with groups of teachers to hear their feedback and really listening and working with the feedback that they give you, or during surveys, any kinds of things that are going to give you a little bit more about what is happening with the literacy program and what needs students have, what needs teachers have would be important. Again, if it's financially viable, coaching or mentoring structures in each of your elementary buildings would be incredibly helpful. We all know that. And then just committing to that ongoing support and training, not only for your teachers, but for your instructional leadership as well. And you do have a leadership part of training for this, but really keeping committed to that as you move forward in your plans. Oops. We're almost there. I just gave you a preview at the end. So we just gave you a whole lot of information, right? So what we would like you to do, if you come away with nothing else from this presentation, first of all, you're doing great work. We saw that in the students that spoke tonight. The That's phenomenal. 3 different areas we would recommend. First of all, in curriculum, supplement the literacy curriculum in the areas of phonological awareness and phonics. That's one recommendation. As far as fidelity, clearly articulate the implementation expectations for all buildings across the district. If they know what your expectations are, you're going to have more fidelity. Of course, then, supporting that is important. Working with the data, doing all those other recommendations we gave is important. But if you can lay out clearly, this is what we're committed to as a district, that's going to help everyone. And then in the area of professional development, like I said, time for district and building leaders to work collaboratively with teachers, sitting down with teachers to problem solve and to look at the ARC Core program and make decisions about what direction they need to go would be incredibly important. And that is the end of our presentation. Thank you. And also, of course, thank you for allowing us to be in your buildings with your students, with your teachers. It was really a joy to see them all and to see your buildings.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your dedication and commitment to this work, and we will take the findings and recommendations to heart. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Board members, I know that was a lot, and community members, I know that was really a lot. Thank you, ladies, for your help. I'm going to ask that if board members have any questions, I think the best way to do it would be to write them, and then Ms. Moriarty and Dr. Manning Campbell can get back to us about the questions, because that was a lot to digest in just, here. Mr. Strang, you seem to have a question.
When was this information put on board docs? Was it put on Friday night? 'Cause I don't recall seeing this until today.
Me neither. So this was a lot all at once for us, really was. When was this put on board docs?
Earlier today. They just finished it up earlier today. Mm-hmm.
It would be difficult to even delve into this at this point. It's just too much.
I know. Well, you all know me. You know that I read everything and that I really go in depth, especially when it comes to literacy and especially early literacy. And it's a lot for me. So thank you, ladies. We'll get back to you. I'm sure you're going to be communicating with Ms. Moriarty. And board members, if you have any questions after you take some time and go through this again, please write them, and then we'll get answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam President. That concludes my items for this section.
We are now at the section of the agenda for public discussion and comments on agenda items. So this is what we're going to do, I hope. With your permission, board members, I'd like to combine both sections of agenda items and then non-agenda items together, and we'll try to give everybody more time to speak, time to get to everybody that's signed up. So we're going to start with agenda items. Mr. Ray Harvey, you're signed up for agenda items.
Good afternoon, Madam President, Superintendent, rest of the esteemed gentlemen and ladies that are sitting around. I don't know whether this on the agenda or not, but most of the people, especially the young folks you see standing here, is here for that man right there, Coach Burks.
Mr. Harvey, that's not on the agenda tonight. So why don't you wait and talk about that non-agenda items?
All right.
Thank you.
I can do that.
Thank you.
I got a lot to say.
And I have Mr. Harold, and I can't read your last name. I apologize. Okay, so we'll put you. You want to speak on agenda items? Okay, you want to put on agenda items.
How you doing? Good evening, people at the board. My name is Joshua McNeil. How you guys doing? And my sons go to Newburgh and Large City School District. And I like to say, these ladies just gave a very good, important data to you guys. And I'm surprised that you guys don't have any questions, because if we go back, I noticed on their presentation they used the word tier. Tear, and time. Tear and time is used in the prison system. That's the language that's used in the prison system. And they just said, we're running out of time. Studies show by third grade, correction systems use children's reading level to determine how many beds they are going to accumulate for the prison system. So again, anybody have any questions here? I think they came with a lot of good data, and I'm surprised my board members are sitting here and y'all don't have any questions for that.
Oh, I'm sure they have questions.
But the questions you need to ask, we needed to hear this, because again, tear and time, those are words used in the prison system. That has to stop. That is disgusting. That is unacceptable, and we won't be accepting this. And again, the lady said that the third grade teachers are unprepared. And it was amazing to me that they're unprepared, but they're unprepared and the third grade data is used for time and tear, which again is used in the prison system. So we kind of see where we're leading the kids down. So I got to ask you guys this, and I came to speak about something totally different. But again, guys, and I ain't got to use your time, I'm going to keep your time because hopefully you guys give them a lot of questions. Use the data because we all sat right here and we listened to the data. Please don't ignore the data. You see the faces? Those faces could turn into something that could be doing time. We understand. See, ladies, y'all don't understand. Our community is not surrounded around colleges. It's surrounded around places that you do time in. Again, the word time was used. Our community is surrounded around places that do time. Now, I'd like to congratulate my community because by us knowing the data that you guys said y'all didn't know, see the large prison over there? We closed it down. We stopped sending our kids there. We got involved. But again, I heard everybody sit here and say, we don't know. What did you just said, when was he giving that data, right? You know when I was giving that data? When my child was first born. That's when I was giving that data. Anybody get the documentary, Waiting on Superman? That data they just gave you, it's been there. It's been there. It's been there, and I'm going to close out with it for a long time.
Mr. Howard, okay, now you have to listen, okay? Mr. Howard, you had a question?
Yes, Madam President. So I, too, agree. It was a very exhaustive report, very exhaustive. And the fact of the matter, we did not receive that document until this afternoon. I would like to suggest that perhaps as a board, we do a board workshop around this topic, and we can have Q&As, and we can question and talk about our questions, and the public will be available to hear those questions and comments. Would that be possible?
We'll work on that. Thank you. That's a great suggestion. Thank you, sir. Okay, I also have Anthony Burnett, who signed up for agenda items. Okay.
I don't recall signing up at all, but...
Well, your name is right here.
Oh, okay, fine. My name is Anthony Burnett. I'm here as a concerned parent. It's in regards to Coach Burks. Right.
What we're going to do is we're going to turn into non-agenda items because then I can start on the list. Okay? So, Mr. Burnett, you're on the wrong list, but... Hello? Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to wait a minute, and then I'm going to call... I'll let you speak for 5 minutes on... Now we're on non-agenda items, okay?
Sure.
So you start, and then I'm going to go through the whole list of everybody that signed up. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, so...
Yeah, so I got to keep time.
As I mentioned, my name is Anthony Burnett. I'm here as a concerned parent. Last evening, being Monday evening, I became aware that Coach Burks was the victim of a physical confrontation, physical. He was victim. He was assaulted. I don't want to use that word loosely, by another parent of Coach Burks. As you understand, as you all know, is the coach of the boys track team. The person that had physical confrontation with him is a parent on the girls track team. That person this incident took place last Saturday. At that event, that person was escorted off the field at that school. They took the initiative to say, this person does not belong here, they have to leave. As of last evening, again, Monday evening, I again understand that this incident is being looked at by the DA's office. Today, Newburgh, the school track team, the boys track team, everybody, they had a track meet. And I understand that, who is Mr. Hodge? I don't know who is the athletic director. Is he here present? No. Okay, so I understand that his...
Do me a favor, don't use anybody's name, because that's a human resource thing, so it's privacy.
All right, thank you. So as I understand, the athletic director has made the decision that this person that was involved, that initiated physical confrontation with Coach Burks, was allowed to come to this track meet today. I don't think that is appropriate. You all are staff, and if any one of you was attacked by someone else, I don't think you would allow that person on campus. Any teachers, students, that's absurd. That is incredible. And this man is putting a lot of work, and so has his students, his athletes. And for him to withdraw himself from that situation is being a bigger person than this athletic director who can't make a decision. I feel that's a bad decision, and I hope I don't stand alone.
You don't.
Ms. Felicia Hodges?
Good evening. My name is Felicia Hodges. I'm a resident of the town of Newburgh, a Newburgh Free Academy graduate, a 6-time collegiate All-American athlete in track and field, a card-carrying member of the National Association of Black Journalists, and a SUNY New Paltz professor of journalism. That intro wasn't to boast about what's up here, but it's to let you know about my level of investment and commitment to this district and its athletic programs. I have literally been involved with this district, first as a student, then as a student athlete, a parent of a student who became a student athlete, an assistant coach of the girls' track and field team. Yes, I was a district employee for one season. A volunteer coach for the boys' track team, which I'm currently doing. The wife of the boys' head track coach, Malcolm Burks, for a total of 50 years. You hear me? 50 years. I've seen a lot of people come and go in those 50 years, and a lot of crazy situations, but absolutely nothing compares to what happened and has happened since Saturday, April 15th, with the boys' track and field team. So for those of you who don't know, Coach Burks was verbally harassed and physically assaulted by an irate parent of an athlete from the girls' track team. But before that even happened, the parent approached members of the boys' track team and said some things that were way past inappropriate. The parent's behavior, cursing and yelling in front of at least half the track team and a huge group of other spectators and athletes from other teams, before he even put his hands on Coach Burks, was so bad that the parent was banned from the meet by the Goshen School District. The director of athletics physically came to the site, and he was physically escorted from the stadium by the Village of Goshen police. I was there and I watched it happen. Worst thing is this, This is not the first time that this parent has shown his entire backside and like this. A few years ago, the same parent physically threatened the girls' track coach and her boyfriend at a meet at the United States Military Academy at West Point, verbally harassing and eventually inviting the coach's boyfriend to, quote, take it outside. And I know that because I witnessed it. I was standing physically right next to her when it happened. Last Saturday, Coach Burks was the epitome of doing the right thing, even walking away from the crazy before things slid into the absolute abyss. He did that because he knew the track team members were right there absorbing it all. And as always, he wanted the lesson that they got from him to be a positive one. And I'm sure you'd agree that a case study on how to keep the peace even when severely provoked is quite a positive lesson. Now, I'm a martial arts instructor. I've taught self-defense to women and girls and young people for years, for over a decade. And I don't know if I would have been able to hold my peace then. That's how bad that verbal assault was, and the physical assault. Make no mistake, Coach Burks told the district via the athletic director that you recently hired what transpired during the meet and why harassment and assault charges had been filed against the parent I'd say within 15 minutes after it happened. He explained why he didn't feel safe with the parent around, particularly because the parent owns multiple guns, and because during track meets, Coach Burks can't physically be with the track team, the athletes, all the time, because good coaches move around on the field, right? They check on athletes in the throws, in the jumps, in the clerking area while they're warming up. And anyone who knows the sport will tell you that. He's not standing there holding a stopwatch, he's moving around. His concern, he told the district's athletic director, was for the safety of the student athletes, the team's assistant coach, and himself. He specifically asked that the parent not be allowed in the stands or at all during the track meet, the next home track meet, which took place today. And he specifically told the athletic director why. Make no mistake about this. The AD representing you and this district basically told him that it was no big deal. Shut up and go back to work. The parent was going to be allowed into Academy Field because, and he said this, he really wants to see his daughter compete. Seriously? This is your protocol? I'm disgusted, and yes, with you, because if you didn't know all this, you should have. This is about basic safety protocol, plain and simple, right? Hasn't the district had a shooting or two in its immediate vicinity in this year alone? On or near school property. Instead of just talking about keeping the people in the district safe, and that includes the student athletes, that includes the employees, especially one who's been employed by this district for 24 years, like Coach Burks has. Do something when somebody points out a loose cannon to you, and a police report has been filed, and an order of protection is pending. This isn't quantum physics. I'm almost done. Would your lack of action have been the same if it was a golf tennis team or a swim team or at the center of it?
Your 5 minutes is up, I'm sorry.
Please make this make sense for me. Figure out a path back from this before you let a situation that you should have known about
Mrs. Hodge.
Become a potential quagmire that can get out of hand. Handle your business and do better. Seriously.
Ms. Michelle Gold. Or Gould.
Good evening to the superintendent, to Madam President, and to all of you here. The Friday before school went on spring break, I was asked to speak at Newburgh Free Academy North Campus. I spent a full day talking to our students about behavioral health issues, mental health, and substance use disorders. I work in trauma. It was a pleasure to be of service. That is why I'm here tonight. Coach Burks has been in service to the Newburgh and Large City School District for 24 years. Those accomplishments comes with hard work, determination, and commitment. Our son is Ryler Gould. He is a product of the Newburgh and Large City School District and the track program. He is currently the lead hurdler at the University of Miami on a full 100% athletic scholarship. I have to say, they pay him $900 a month just for signing with the University of Miami. That's some of the perks that happens for good athletes. Our son Raiden now is a freshman on the track team. Coach Burks, all of his athletes, he aims and wants his athletes to go to college. They make changes, they succeed, and come to support the track program. Coach Burks teaches honesty, self-confidence, creativity, loyalty. His athletes are generally kind, respectful, trustworthy, authentic, and confident. Knowing Coach Burks over all of these years, he has proven to be a steadfast, hardworking, always considerate, compassionate leader, and we are lucky to have him. This district needs a man like Coach Burks, who oftentimes, besides being a role model, is a father figure to a lot of our athletes. I employ this district and I employ this board to see all of the love that so many people are feeling for him. And we'll continue to be supportive of Coach Burks and the Newburgh Enlarged City School District. Please, I implore you to listen to our children and to our parents, and we thank you for your commitment to the Newburgh Enlarged City School District. Thank you.
Just to add, the woman, the two women that were here talking about our literacy audit, and they implored you as the board and the school district to, the same way they went into the school and they went into our classrooms, one of their recommendations that I heard was for all of us, all of you, to do the same so you can assess it on an ongoing basis yourself. I've been to track meets for the last 8 years, 9 years now, and I would have to say that I don't really see many familiar faces. Take the time to get out there and know the man that you employ to watch over, teach, and engage our children. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Ray Harvey?
Again, good afternoon, Madam President, Superintendent, rest of the distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We shouldn't be here. It's no way we should be here talking about this. This is absolute. Make it make sense. That's when I say that when stuff, make it make sense, because it doesn't. You telling me if I punch you that I can come back to this board meeting? That's what you're saying. Exactly, and that's what you teaching these young folks. What are we doing? What are we doing? Make it make sense, because it doesn't to me. It doesn't make sense to me. When he called me last night, and we got to talking, and I kept telling him, the only thing I'm going to say, make it make sense, Coach, because it doesn't make sense to me. What they talking about doing nothing to this gentleman that assaulted him? Make no mistake, we're going to call it what it is. But yet, I got an AD who is not invested in my community because he's not from my community. This man right here is invested in my community. And that uniform that he wears, you know the first thing they teaches us? To eliminate, right? That's what they teaches us. As quickly as possible. So for that gentleman to be able to stand there and allow that gentleman to walk away, that shows you the courage, the respect, the character that this man is, and what he's trying to teach our young folks, that violence is not the answer, right? That's what he's trying to teach his young folks. And then on top of that, what is his graduation rate? What is it? We know what it is. And then how many of his kids go on to college and graduate? We know what that is. So for us to be here tonight talking about this, again, makes no sense. Make it make sense, people. That's all I want you to do. And maybe I can understand it, because right now I can't understand why we here when we had all of this good stuff tonight that was being done, and now we got to talk about this. We shouldn't be talking about this, because it shouldn't have been no issue. It should have been, you can't come back on school property. Just that simple. Just that simple. You know, just simple. It's just that simple. Anytime somebody, so what that's saying, he's representing the New Bergen Large School District, which is all of us. So you telling us that you don't have his back when it comes to that. That anybody can do anything to him that they feel like they can and get away with it, and we're going to allow it because we're going to say it's okay because he wants to watch his daughter run track. Well, I'm sorry, you lost that privilege. You lost that. And it's simple, and it's simple. And trust me, I'm really teed off because I just don't understand. I just don't understand, and I want somebody to make it make sense, that a man that dedicated his life to making sure his community is better every day that he gets up, right, that we don't have his back when he's being attacked. It's just that simple, because he was attacked. And then the things that these young folks had to hear, his young folks had to hear. And yet, no accountability for the gentleman that did it. None. Because all you had to do was say, you can't come back on the school property. That's it. Because it's not public. This belongs to the school. And when somebody's on there and they act in a certain way, when the student hit a teacher, y'all don't let them come back? You don't let them come back? So what is that saying? Or is it because he's a black man? And I don't want to use that. Right? Because we're supposed to be able to take certain things? No, don't do that. Don't do that. And then to say you violating that man's civil rights. And I'm telling you right now, because I done called my state president. He had a right to let people know that he was feeling dangerous, and he didn't want to go to that meeting. He had that right.
Mr. Harvey,
Thank you.
Thank you. Harold, I don't know your last name. Could you tell me, please? Thank you.
Okay, I only got 5 minutes. I only got 5 minutes. My name is Harold Kalzer, and first of all, I got a phone call last night from Coach Burks. Some of you guys might not even know what I do. I've been a coach for the youth football for 38 years, City of Newburgh Steelers. Before there was Steelers, we was Goldbacks, like Slash, Chargers, whatever you want to call us, Colts, whatever it was, for 38 years. And I looked on this board over here, and I got 5 kids that I coach right over here on this board. And the funniest thing is that to see that when Coach Burks called me up last night, I was trying to what do we do with this situation? But here's a situation that I looked at as a coach. When we coach, we're in charge of the atmosphere. The environment is around us. And for a spectator, or a parent, whoever they are, they're behind us. But when they start getting in front of us, that's a physical security risk. Not only is it a security physical risk, what it is since you guys been on the board, you've been hearing about shootings in schools, and you've been hearing about fights in school against staff or whatever, because a lot of times the kids get in front of the person. This individual got in front of the coach and harassed them. And if for all y'all to know that when you're getting harassed, there's a problem. There's a problem. And the problem right now is, we have to really evaluate ourselves and find out where we really at. Right now, in the school district right now, it's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff. From coaching 38 years, I've seen kids go to Yale, I've seen them go to Harvard, I've seen them go to Syracuse University, I've seen a lot of them go to prison. I've seen a lot of them go to the graveyard. Out of 38 years of coaching, I've been seeing this right now, over 171 kids killed. At the same time, I've seen 200 go to college. His ratio is better than my ratio. He stand out better than I stand out. And I got more years than he got. I'm very jealous about that. But my thing is, when we talk to each other, we talk as brothers. Coach Ron Jackson, that was our coach. And it was a zero tolerance with him. You jump on coach, you got a problem. You jump in front of coach, you got a problem. There was an old theory that he had, and I'm just going to put it to y'all didn't know. It was called no pain, no gain. And that's what he's giving them. And until you guys realize that we have a job to do, getting paid for it or not getting paid for it. It's a profit at the end of the road. You help a kid get out of the neighborhood and do something successful. And if you cannot reward that type of person, and you give a guy that didn't do that the reward, then what are we saying? See, the problem we got right now is that sometimes I tell him is, we too political. We scared of what somebody gonna say. I'm just a youth coach. I'm just a semi-pro coach. I'm not getting paid nothing. I can say what I want to say. So I feel like if we're gonna really come together as a community and as a city of Newburgh, because really be true to you, I'm gonna go back. 1984, that was my coach back there. I played football for the city. I played basketball. They kicked me off the track team, sorry. But my thing is, we are all part of this community. And if we all gonna do this, let's do it together. If you see a crisis like this is a crisis. Because the young brothers that's right there had to really look at something they see on South Street, something they see on Liberty Street, something they see on City Terrace, where y'all mock this thing and say where the baddest streets is at. They see that. So when he taking them off that spot and bringing them to a different spot, then now he's scrutinized. So I'm gonna say I got 30 seconds to do this. If we can't do it together, then we not to be in the same spot. Let's do it together. Let's hold people that do something wrong accountable. And I'm good.
Francine Burks.
Can I go before her? I wasn't going to say anything, and I'm not on the list, but it's me. So if you don't mind, Madam President.
Yes, absolutely.
Good evening, Madam President, board members. I won't talk about my 20-plus years of honorable service in the United States Army. We won't talk about that. I won't talk about my job as counterintelligence and special security. I won't talk about that. I won't talk about my 98% graduation rate here from high school to college. I won't talk about that. I won't talk about my overall 100% graduation rate on the track team. I won't talk about that. What I will talk about, because it's on police records, is the incident that happened on Saturday. And you heard it from me, and I'll tell you, I've given it to the athletic director as well. On that day, I was told by my assistant coach that a parent was talking negative to me about myself, saying I'm not a good coach, I don't know what I'm doing, he don't know why they're listening to me. Upon that, I asked her to identify the parent, which she did, which was a former parent of a student on the boys' team. At that time, I asked her what athletes did he speak to. She pointed them out and identified them. I brought them out the situation, and I asked them what was said. And they repeated, just like my assistant coach said, that he basically belittled me. And I found out not only on that day, he had done it on numerous occasions as well from them. So to me, that was a situation. I am there for parents. I am there for you. I represent you. The money I get paid, when I did the budget, I get paid the price of assistant coach. I'll have between 60 and sometimes 80 athletes on my team. For the last 5 years, I've been the only coach with no assistant, but we won't talk about that. Let's get back to the incident. On that day, once I saw the parent, he was still in our immediate area. To me, he was still a threat. I walked over that parent who was leaning over the rail, and I did not disturb him because he was talking to another adult. And I stood next to that parent. That parent looked at me after about 30 seconds or so and said, "What?" And I said to him, "Sir, all due respects, I do not appreciate the way you talk to my athletes about me." He told me, it's in my police report, which I gave to the AD, I can do whatever the F I want to. I don't know who you think you are. These are not your kids. He went finger wagging. He had a brim hat, a baseball hat with a brim. He went foreheaded with the brim on my head. And I said, "You know what I'll do for you? I'll have you removed." I went and notified security. They called the Goshen Police Department. They removed them. I took the kids home on the bus. I went back to Goshen, and I filed a report of harassment, assault, and I also put in for order of protection, which is still pending at the Goshen Police Department. I gave all that information to the athletic director. I asked him to meet with me on Monday. I never heard from him. I finally went there at 12 o'clock on my lunch break to ask him what's the status. And he told me to give him a copy of the police report, and he would not allow that parent at the track meet, which I gave him. Lo and behold, I find out after practice that the parent is attending the track meet. I told him that I do not feel safe for myself, my athletes, and my assistant coach with that parent there. And if that's the situation, I would not going to be there. I would not assume that responsibility. I don't understand how right now I'm being told that I can't coach. I can't be on school property. I can't talk to the kids because I'm under investigation. But what's being done to this parent? He was at the meet today, I heard. So I don't understand that. Because if you're investigating me, I still should be able to do my job until the investigation is complete. That's how we do it in the military. So I don't understand why I can no longer communicate with these athletes. We have the two biggest meets, recruiting meets, which is New York Relays this weekend and Penn Relays, which are the two biggest meets that we help our athletes get into college with. And I'm not right now I'm told I can't do anything for them. To me, really, that's a problem. That's a problem. Look at my history, look at my record, look at my military record. You'll see I have the highest award in the military called the Sergeant Morales for care and leadership of soldiers. These are my young soldiers. So I understand we have policies in place. We have policies in place. Can I please regain 30 seconds of my time? Can I please regain 30 seconds? Can I reclaim 30 seconds of my time?
No, I'm sorry, they took your time.
Can I?
Thank you, Coach Burks, thank you. Moses Cruz. Excuse me. Moses Cruz? He had to leave. Okay. Thank you for telling me. Darren Stridiron.
Good evening. I would like to provide you with an update on the transportation issues our family has been enduring since the beginning of March. Since last week, the district has not resolved the situation. We are still driving our son to and from school for 4 hours a day. As far as we know, the district is still paying the bus company for a service that my family is providing. The district told us that the aide and the driver never logged the incidents that were in the fall, where my son was laying on the van for up to an hour without them helping him get off the bus. My son is autistic, nonverbal, 7-year-old. They just let him lay there on the floor. They never reported it to their bus supervisor. The emotional distress went on for 6 weeks. The bus manager had the audacity to write me an email and say, "Why punish the driver and the aide when they did nothing wrong?" So I asked the district for the videos. For weeks, no videos. I had to foil the videos and force them to give us the videos. They would have never given us the videos based on the emails that I received. Why do you continue to protect the bus company when the children are the clients? The district never removed the individuals, the driver and the aide, during an active investigation. Active investigation, you separate the people. I guess it doesn't happen in Newburgh. You get paid to protect and educate our children. This is the way of doing things, and it has to end. You need to make sure to put the children and the families first over the interests of the bus company. I come to find out after last week that my family's not alone. There are numerous parents that have issues with the same bus company, but you wouldn't know because our leadership here doesn't ask the parents about any issues, but you just gave them a 5-year contract without any feedback from the parents. You need to create a culture where children and the families are treated with respect. At the last meeting, the superintendent said every incident that's brought to her attention is investigated thoroughly. Where's the investigation? Where's the investigation? The tactic of deny, delay, and the parent will go away, it's not going to happen. The parents are not going to go away. We're not going to go away. Acknowledge your mistakes, own it, and fix it.
Joshua McNeil, you're going to talk on non-agenda items? Okay.
Yes. Good evening, board, back again. Good evening, everyone, back again. I'm going to keep this short and sweet, and if I can share my time, Coach Burks, if you'd like to add anything, you may. So I'm going to start by a show of hands. Everyone in the room, show of hands. How many of us served our country? How many of us served our country? Show of hands. Anyone served in the military, please? Show of hands, show of hands. All right, let's give a round of applause for the people that served in the military. I'd like to point out someone specifically, Coach Burks. That flag falls, he serves our country. Our children fall, he serves our country. So we have an incident with an individual that's not even here, that had a personal agenda. That's a little bit distasteful, very disrespectful. But I'm kind of feeling the energy here, and let me explain why. A couple months ago, we gave this man the key to the city. Those children attended that. Let's hold it because we got the time. Today, they're here to defend his job. It's confusing. Couple weeks ago, this man was inducted into the Hall of Fame down at the New York Armory. Today, he is here to defend his job. Like the man said, where's the president at NAACP? Make it make sense. So let me help you make it sense. And we're gonna do this real quick, all right? Between the hours of 3:30 and 6 o'clock, children will become victims or they will victimize somebody in a crime. Not Coach Burke's kids. The order again, and I gotta go back to them. They said they gave y'all the data and you guys are failing. I don't want to point the fingers, and I see some of the faces, and I know, and I'm not accusing, but you don't like what we're saying. But let me give you another fact, and I'm not going to brag on them. My son recently had to take a test at Albertus Magnus. This is considered one of the top schools in the nation, ranked number 388. You know who groomed him before that test? Not his dad, Coach Burks. Coach Burks did. So again, and I'm not going to hold y'all up, if he has to endure punishment for defending our kids, we're not going to ask him. No, we're going to look at y'all. Because the problem is, as other parents said, we live in fear. There's school shootings, there's school assaults. But looking at some of the faces, and we got to start fixing this, not your kids, so it doesn't matter to y'all. But these are our kids. So here's what we're going to do, and I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Some of y'all have secure jobs. Some of y'all have to be voted in. If we go wrong, we will not forget this on election day. If this goes wrong, we would not forget your votes. So as you look at me, remember my face. I come with a lot. Enjoy your seat now, because you won't sit. Because if he can't enjoy his job and does what we can't have that. Because this is disgusting. The man defends our country. And again, our country's at war. We're getting ready to go to war. Did he not just say those are his soldiers? Take the general away, you got no soldiers. Thank you very much. Coach Burks, would you like that minute? Would you like that minute? You got that minute. You got that minute. Why not? You gave me a lot, brother.
Oh, just the last I want to say, there was 14 athletes that witnessed that situation that did turn in reports, incident reports, along with other parents that did send me the email. And like I said, all that information was given to the athletic director along with my police report that said that I filed for harassment, assault, and or order of protection. So I guess I'm being protected by not being allowed to coach. I'm sorry.
Wait, hold on. So then that makes them victims of a crime as well. I got a job to do now. You're employing the assailant to be, you're actually giving him the power. Don't make that mistake. I still got 23. I still got 23 seconds. I got 23 seconds. But Madam President, I'll yield. Thank you very much.
Bishop John Borden, and I'm going to tell you, I didn't recognize you, sir. Welcome.
Good evening. Certainly we're glad to be here tonight. See such a nice Walker. How are you? Good, Miss Superintendent. HR. Mr. Goldback, Bill Howard. We're glad that you guys keep right on picking on our #1 coach.
Right.
A few years ago, when I was the basketball coach at, either South Middle School or Heritage Junior High School, I was bringing my uniforms back. And when I brought the uniforms back, the athletic director asked me, what did I think about coaching track? varsity track. And I said, I don't know anything about track. He said, go home, read a book, and watch a film. And I said, that's despicable. You already have a coach who is Malcolm Burks. Why would you give me his job and I know nothing? They've been after his job, and I've been down here before, as Mr. McLemore can attest, to support giving Mr. Burks an opportunity to do what each coach, each parent should want. I've put 8 children through the Newburgh Enlarged City School District. I have one child who is only 14, so Ms. McNeil won't be having an opportunity with him. So that'll give me a total of 9 children that I put through this school district. They're all going to come upon a thing that we had to get trained in, and that is called conflict resolution. In conflict resolution, we all must be trained because sooner or later in the city of Newburgh, we are going to come into a situation of conflict. How we respond is so vitally important because it has the ripple effect. Whatever Coach Burke would have done on Saturday, had he retaliated, which he would have had every right to do, he showed great restraint and self-control. Many of us would have used that as an opportunity to show our physical skills on how we could defend ourselves. But it would have had a ripple effect. The ripple effect is when you throw the rock into the water and it hits the water, and then you see all those little ripples go across the water. Had he done any of those things, he don't know what those young men would have done. And I say this because of past times that they've tried to mess with his record, which he's the winningest. We've gone to those graduation ceremonies at the high school where they bring in all the different athletic teams and we say who's graduating. And one year we didn't have, maybe 2 on the basketball team even think about graduating. But yet when it came to him, he had a stage full. But yet we keep trying to challenge for his job. What other kind of person do we want? We want a person of integrity. We want somebody that can show self-control. We want somebody that can be a conflict resolution person, and yet we find it all in one person, but yet we keep challenging him for his job. Now that parent, I've been a parent. In fact, I shared the story how recently, a few years ago, I went to the basketball game at Ulster County Community College, and I had on my jeans, and I was relaxing. No one knew I was a preacher, with one exception, the athletic director from Sullivan County Community College, in which my son was on the other team. And I felt like they were cheating. So I was picking on the referees. Do you know they stopped the game? Because I said to the referee, I said, wow, your whistle actually works at this end of the gym. He got mad and called timeout. So I saw security coming towards me. And I didn't know they were coming for me. They came and they escorted me out the gym. And when they did that, the crowd gave me a standing ovation. Whew. But you can't heckle the referee. So if you can't heckle a referee at a ball game, how dare you come on a work site and be able to take and get into the face of a coach? Y'all got to make sure that his environment is safe. And I thank you.
Sade Burks. Did she leave? We have a bit more time. Would anybody else like to? Mr. Levenstein.
I'd like to speak as a board member, Ms. McNeil.
You want to speak as a board
Yes.
member? Okay.
So what I've heard tonight is a lot of, I don't understand, and I'm going to say the same thing. I didn't hear, and I don't know if I missed the email or didn't see the story, or the first I heard of this incident is when the audience started speaking to it. I don't understand why the board members, and I'm assuming everyone here, did not know about this, hear about it, be explained about it. I don't know the details, and I just don't know why an incident that's being described is quite important was not brought forward to the board members. I mean, maybe it was to some. It wasn't to me, so that's why I don't understand.
There's a young gentleman that would like to speak. What's your name, sir?
My name is Jordan Lawrence.
Lawrence, thank you. Mr. Lawrence?
Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone today? See, one of the first things Coach Burks taught me was have manners. So I introduced myself. So I'm sorry for my hat, my hoodie. My hair's a mess. But I ran track with Coach Burks since 7th grade. He's been like a father to me, a second father. He always supported me in anything. I went to college, and he was a phone call away every time. If I came home, he opened arms. So can I ask a question? First of all, who's the AD? This is you got it? Okay. Coach Burks always shows up, regardless of the situation. I ran track for 6 years. I gave a lot of trouble, and Coach Burks was always there batting for me, speaking to teachers, speaking to principals, because he saw my potential. He taught me that the team's as strong as their weakest man. And if I'm always going to be the weakest man getting in trouble, affecting the team, how is the team going to get any better? Coach Burks is a man that looks to his community for assistance more than he looks for his school, to the school. I say that because we went out there, we did what we had to do, we fundraised for ourselves because we wanted to make it happen. Coach Burks gave us the leadership, the guidance, and showed us that there's a lot of things we could do if we put our mind to it. I went to school and I graduated with my bachelor's in human biology. Not many. Thank you. If I was supposed to go back to my 5th grade, 6th grade years, not many teachers would see that for me. Why? Because I was a troublemaker. That's not like I didn't have the grades, but I spoke my mind and it wasn't always the best thing to say. But Coach Burks put me on that right path. He taught me how to take a step back, observe the room. Is this what I really want to do? Like, is this what I want to say? He taught me how to be a man before I was even given the opportunity to be a man. He teaches me, he taught all these young men in front of you how to be a man. You could ask them what's the first thing he teach you is how to be a leader, how to be a man, and then to be a father. You're only as strong as yourself. You're only going to do what you put yourself to do. But Coach Burks is always going to be behind you with his hand on your back, pushing you to keep going. You're going to hear him yelling, move, because in life you got to keep moving. You can't stand still. And even when somebody's standing up in your face, you got to move on. You can't let that 30 seconds interrupt your whole day. He had maybe 20 athletes with him. I know Coach Burks. I've seen him work out. I've worked out with him. He's a strong man. He could have retaliated if he wanted to, but he walked away. He taught that to his athletes that day. Not many coaches, in my opinion, could say that themselves. I've had a coach curse me out. Not in this school district, but yes. Coach Burks never raised his voice. He never spoke ill of me. He never spoke out of tongue. That's a man of honor and respect. Since I started running track, was it 7th grade? My 9th grade year, you guys were putting his job up for fire. And never understood that. A man that always will show up, will be on time, and will do more than is asked for. What more would you ask for him? That's my biggest question. Number one question. Second question, has any of you all ever been to a Newburgh track meet? Not even one that's in the community? Has anyone seen us online? I have a news article with a picture of me and my former team lead. We have a state meet title. We have a state meet record. Coach Burks did that for us. He gave us opportunity, and we showed up. Not just for us, but for the community. Coach Burks shows up for this community. He shows up for his individual athletes. Everyone gets the respect that they work for. If you don't want it yourself, how is he going to give you more than you want? That's all I have to say today.
We have time for one more person to speak. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? No? Yes? Thank you. He says yes. Thank you.
Good evening. How you doing today?
Great. What's your name, sir?
My name is Elsie Coleman.
Thank you.
How you doing today? I'm a little nervous, but most of y'all know me. I ran with Coach Burks in 2004. He's a great man. I don't understand why we keep going through this with this man. There's no other black person that you can say that put more black men from us through the streets. We're from the streets. He's a father figure to us. Most of us don't have fathers. And some of y'all go home to fathers, and we don't. And this man, day and day, come to our houses and pick us up when we don't have fathers. I could have been in the streets. I had a full scholarship to Mississippi State because of this man. Not my father, this man. You know? And I don't understand. Now, years later, he's still going fighting for his job. He's fighting for his job when I was in school. Why? There's no better person to look up than this man. It's a shame that he had to fight for his job day in and day out. It's ridiculous. He fought for this country. And now he has to fight for his job? When is this going to stop? If it's not for him, a lot of us be dead. I may not make it in track and field, but I'm a great father because of this man. Not my father, because of this man. It has to stop. That's what I'm saying. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to move on with the agenda. Excuse me. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby recesses into executive session for the following purpose. Matter made confidential under FERPA, employment history of particular individuals, employment history of particular corporations, matters leading to the employment of particular individuals, the review of programs and placements of students with disabilities, collective bargaining under the Taylor Law, and to obtain advice from legal counsel. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Mr. DeRay? Ms. Green? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. McNeil?
Yes.
Mr. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Gentlemen, thank you. We're back. I'm going to turn this over to our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Manning Campbell.
Thank you so much. I know we've had a long night. Before my items, I just want to acknowledge that we had some folks from the community come out tonight. We wanted to assure you that we heard you, and we are conducting an investigation, and we will provide prompt findings. Okay. There was a request to consider our safety and security in terms of guards, infrastructure, and camera systems in our buildings. The district is more than halfway through their smart bond plan for upgrading camera systems throughout the district and has added new locks to our interior upgrades. In addition, the district conducts site assessments at each school in conjunction with law enforcement to analyze safety and preparedness. There was a concern shared about academic achievement and data that was shared. Please be reminded that these are New York State assessments and not scores for students, but for the district overall. These assessments provide the district with data related to progress toward achievements of exit outcomes so we can adjust as needed. The district appreciates the worry related to special education and is making a concerted effort, particularly at the middle level, to provide parallel curriculum. Please recognize that decisions to reduce staffing are always difficult ones for our team to make. Please be assured that those decisions are made with confidence that support for students would not be disrupted. With that, please be reminded that AIS academic intervention support is a support, not a person or a position. The district continues to promote the opportunity for our special education students to be educated alongside their general education peers in the least restrictive environment possible. As we begin to design and create programs for success, we agree the environment must be prepared and staff training must be conducted before we implement this concept. The K-5 Unlimited Horizons program is a traditional gifted and talented program in the district. Beyond that program, we offer a variety of options for students to receive rigorous instruction at a high level, while providing opportunities that they are interested in and that will prepare them for success beyond academy field, such as the NFA P-Tech program, early college high school program with Marist College, advanced placement courses, our career and technical education courses with certification opportunities, and our NFA West Campus internship program. For the summer, the district has verified that the planned special education offerings will comply with all NYSED Part 200 regulations. We heard concern about how responsibilities would be distributed from administrator positions being reduced. We are awaiting the final New York State budget. Any adjustments received by the district will be used to reinstate positions as funding allows. Finally, we assure you that all schools will have the same amount of assistant principal positions allotted for next year as we were allotted for this school year. Tonight, I present items 4.1 and 4.2 as consent items for your consideration.
Would any member like to separate out either of these items? I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion on these items? Mr. Levinstein, do you have a question?
Yeah, just on 4.1, just a little background on it. Is it specific? Is it, it just seems unusual and it reports to the superintendent only. Can we get a little background?
Mr. Ford.
Yes. Ms. Margaret Gatos was an independent contractor. She is now incorporated. 4.1 would be the corporation that she is now working with.
Board members, are there any other questions on these two items? Roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Thank you, Madam President. That concludes my items for this evening.
Thank you. I have items 5.1 and 5.2 for you all tonight. Would any member like to separate out any of these items? I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion on 5.1 and 5.2? Roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Straight Iron?
No.
Mr. Walker? Mr. Duray?
We're going to move on to board committees. I'm going to talk about the Personnel Committee. All the items that were discussed at the Personnel meeting are on tonight's agenda. So we're going to move on to Facilities. Mr. Levinstein.
Thank you, Madam President. So the facilities met April 12th, Facilities Committee, and we had a capital bond construction update from the architects and construction manager on New Windsor, which is preparing bid documents to hopefully go out shortly. The CTE is refining plans with a planned June Department of Education submission, and they discussed the Heritage and Valesgate construction updates. Then with Mr. Velez, we spoke about the spring break maintenance, which included 22 windows at NFA, which finishes that project that became a 4-year project. New serving lines in 5 schools were completed. New MERV 13 filters in every classroom. All this was done during the week, spring break. West Street School had some windows that we'll work on, and Gidney Avenue Ball Field. And then Mr. Velez reported on the planned summer work and how that's going to go hand in hand with the capital construction projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Levinstein. I'm going to move on to the Library Committee. Mr. Stridiron.
Thank you, Madam President. The Library Committee met on April 13th, and we had the director's report and overview. We have a couple items on the agenda for tonight's meeting, and there's an announcement that the April 27th at 11 a.m. is a ribbon cutting for the new construction that's completed at the library for the media room downstairs and the computer room and the yoga room and multi-purpose room. So everyone's invited. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stridiron. We're going to move on to our Policy Committee and then Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, both Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Madam President. So the Policy Committee met on 4/13. We had a discussion around two items that we just voted on, 2106 school visits and 2120.2 voting procedures. And we had a conversation around 5411 that's going to be brought back to committee with some information at the next meeting. Diversity, Equity, Inclusion meeting, we met today prior to the board meeting, and we had a share out from the Curriculum Committee, Human Resources, HR, that is Human Resources, I'm sorry, exceptional learners, I'm sorry, around equity in the district. The discussion today was around as an equity lens. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. We're going to move on to our Assistant Superintendent for Exceptional Learners, Mr. Bayer.
Thank you, Madam President. The Exceptional Learner Division has the one item, 7.1, for the board's consideration.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stradiron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard?
Thank you. That concludes my items.
Thank you, Mr. Baer. We're going to move on to our Assistant Superintendent for Finance. In her place, we have Ms. Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. This evening, we have items 8.1 to 8.7 on consent for your consideration.
Would any member like to separate out any of these items? Yes, Mr. Stridiron.
8.3, please.
8.3. Anyone else? I'd like to entertain a motion on 8.1 to 8.7 minus 8.3. Questions or discussion on those items? Roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stradiron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Duray?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Let's move on to item 8.3. I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Yes, Mr. Stridiron.
Thank you, Madam President. How is this routing transportation tabulation RFP different than the last report that the board had a few years ago? What's going to be the different outcome that you're expecting?
Yes, Ms. Peterson.
So the initial RFP that we did, I think it was about 3 years ago, was really looking at bell times and start times in our current routing. This RFP goes hand in hand with the new way in which we're bidding for routing. So in the past, we had over 700 annual routes. This proposes that we'll be able to reduce that to actualize cost savings across the district. It is going to be looking at our actual routes and how to route our entire transportation system as one. I think the last RFP we did not look at routing. It looked at bell times, how we can try to adjust them to better serve in conjunction with after-school programming and athletics. So it looked at that point. It did not include routing.
I believe the result of the last report also talked about zoning.
It did cover some of that if we looked at ways to reduce and to adjust bell time, how we could do that as a district. So it did talk about zones. It talked about how we could efficiently, if the district was to so choose to want to start later in the day, how we could how we could actualize that. So it did talk about that, but it did not review routing.
With this contract, will this company do the actual study, or is it district employees using their software?
No, this is going to actually route. So what's happening with our transportation department now, they're doing a lot of the routing, and with the new RFP that we put out that the board approved last week, we went from 700 to 500 annual contracts. So it is an effort to try to streamline the process for people to have the transportation and bus stop times much easier, but they have to look at our whole entire transportation matrix and award the routes to the bus companies according to what they route.
So when will this study be completed, and how will the board know the results?
So the RFP we will be giving it to the transportation. I think within the actual bid document, it does show the respondents, and we will give our information, and they will conduct that so we can have routes for next school year. So for
By when?
For the summer, they will actually be routing. So we're hoping to get that sometime within the summer for fall.
So the parents will get the routes well before the first day of school?
That's what our hope is, and I know that that's definitely something that this is going to, as a part of the RFP bid, was to actually have the route so that we can schedule and notify our students and our parents. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Yes, sir. Mr. Lamar.
Are there savings that are anticipated by following this action?
So last week, the board voted on minimizing the amount of annual contracts. Currently, the district routes over 700, which is, I think that it's brought back often to the board when we have a different addition. So what this does is it hopes to create efficient routing for our day programs, our daily runs and routes. To assist our bus companies in making sure we don't have routes that are basically, and those who live in the area, that sometimes there's buses that are right behind each other, to really look at those and make sure they're awarded properly.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Thank you, Madam President. That concludes the finance section.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. We're going to move on to our Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, Mr. McLemore.
Thank you, Madam President. On the Human Resources agenda, I have items 9.1 through 9.9 for your consideration on tonight.
Would any member like to separate out any of these items? Yes, sir.
9.1C, 1 through 4.
1 through 4. Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion on 9.3 through to 9.9, and then 9.1, all but C 1 through 4. I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion on this group of items? Roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Mr. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes. Let's move on to item 9.1C, 1 through 4. I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Can I have a second?
Second.
Questions or discussion? Yes, sir.
So as far as these 4 people, employees, when you're not tenured, you're put in a very difficult position when you're provided with a letter stating that you'll no longer be employed after a certain period of time. You either fight it and possibly win, but then work in a situation where you know you're not welcome. Or you can just not fight it and move on with your career. I think that as a district, it would be better if we looked at untenured staff that has value and not, I have to say this carefully, but we have to look at them as valuable assets to our district. You have to look at their history. And for these particular individuals, I just can't vote to get rid of valuable people. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Any other comments on this item? Roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Mr. Walker? Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. McNeil?
Yes.
Mrs. Straight Iron?
No.
Madam President, I'd like to request permission to add an item.
Would you read it to us, please, Mr. McLemore?
Yes, Madam President. Be it resolved that the board hereby accepts the resignation of South Middle School Assistant Principal Tara Cox, effective close of business, effective 6/30/23.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Is that it? We're
Yes,
done?
ma'am.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to add this to the agenda. Okay. Roll call to add.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. McNeil?
Yes.
Mr. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion on this item? Roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. McNeil?
Yes.
Mr. Straight Iron?
No.
Mr. Walker? Mr. Duray?
That concludes my items, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLemore. We're going to move on now to the Clerk of the Board, Mrs. Novotny.
Thank you, Madam President. I have two agenda items this evening. Approval of the minutes for April 11th, regular meeting.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion on this item? Roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. McNeil?
Yes.
Mrs. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker? Mr. Duray? There is still time to run for the board. If you're interested, please contact my office. Candidate packets are due back to the district clerk by April 26th, which is next week at 5 o'clock. There are 3 seats available for a 3-year term and 1 seat available for a 1-year term. The trustees whose terms will be available are Ms. Burton, Mr. Levinstein, Ms. Mineo, and Mr. Walker. That concludes my item, Madam President.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Novotny. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. Roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker? Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard?
Thank you, and thank you for your patience. See you in May.